Fantastic. Okay, welcome to another Tuesday Talks. My name is Jessica Rosenblatt. I am the Executive Director of the Ohio Arts Professionals Network, and I'm so glad you are all here today. For those of you who are new, the Tuesday Talks is a free virtual learning series that we host throughout the year. The sessions are held once a month on Tuesdays at noon and are open to both OAPN members and non-members. This series is one of our ways that we work to educate, connect, and strengthen our performing arts communities. We were working to bring together presenters, artists, agents, and arts leaders from across Ohio and beyond to share knowledge and learn from one another. Before we dive into today's program, I'd like to take a moment to thank our 2026 annual sponsors who are year-long supporters of OAPN. Our platinum sponsor is Lemon Grenade Creative. Our diamond sponsors are Ohio Contemporary Ballet, Magic Rocks, illusionist Leon Etienne, Well House Hotel Tapestry Collection by Hilton, and the Courtyard Marriott. Our gold sponsors are Bill Blag, Magic and Illusion, and VBO Tickets. Thank you again to all of our sponsors for investing in the work that we're doing and into our statewide art community. For more, please visit oapn.org. All right, now on to today's Tuesday Talks session. I am so excited to welcome back Krissy Hartman. Krissy is not only the executive director of the Springfield Arts Council, she also joined our board this year and is our membership co-chair. And we had a wonderful conversation last month, and it was so good that we thought, let's bring it back for part two. So for those that missed part one, we do have it posted to our YouTube. So if you just go to Ohio Arts Professionals Network on YouTube, we've got a Tuesday Talks playlist, and you can watch that last session there. But I just want to give a quick introduction to Krissy for those of you who might not know her. So today's Tuesday Talks is competition versus collaboration. This is part two. Krissy Hartman, who is the executive director of the Springfield Arts Council, it was named Arts Educator of the Decade for the Dayton Region by Broadway.com. She has spent over a decade leading the Springfield Arts Council, where she has built nationally recognized arts education programs. She is a passionate advocate for expanding access to the arts and fostering meaningful connections. This part two discussion, it's a timely discussion, and we're trying to move beyond the ideas that we brought up in part one and move these into sort of a real world application. How do we build collaborative relationships? What does it take to shift the mindset into practice? And how do we create partnerships that are sustainable and mutually beneficial? That's the big conversation today. I'm going to hand this over to Krissy to kick things off. And of course, we'll open this up to Q&A about halfway through. Krissy, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jess. So as Jess said, I am Krissy Hartman, the executive director here at the Springfield Arts Council in Springfield, Ohio, where we really thrive in the collaboration setting, whether we have an arts education program, which really relies on our collaborations, as well as we do a summer arts festival every summer we're about to kick that off soon. June 11th is opening date, and it's 5 weeks of admission-free entertainment for 5 nights a week. And then we do a ticketed series in a 1,500 seat auditorium down the street. So we work with a lot of different venues. We work in a lot of different settings in terms of what we should be programming. We do family programming, we do magic, we do comedy, we do musical theater, we do a little bit of everything. And we have a really strong arts ecosystem here in Springfield. And that's a lot of what we talked about in the last session. For those of you who may not have been here, is talking about the ways that we can all be collaborating to be focusing on not being, in my case, like an individual presenter, but being an important part of the arts ecosystem here in a town like Springfield. So last time we really explored the concept of competition versus collaboration and the fact that in the arts world, a little bit of competition is kind of unavoidable. There are things like ticket prices and funding and competing artists tests and dates and all sorts of things that make competition a little bit unavoidable. But how can we shift our mindset to making that be more collaborative and working together and inspire us to think a little bit outside the box? So today we're going to talk about what it all looks like in practice. And like Jess said, I come from education, so I definitely ask for participation. So if it feels like I'm asking a question that I want to answer to, I do, pretty please. So with that, I want to first start with, is there anyone in this room that has had a collaboration go totally wrong? You can raise your hand or you can pop on and speak or anything, or everyone's only had perfect collaborations, which I like even better. Oh, okay. Jess, we've had a bad collaboration. Okay, good. Um,
In yeah, I will have to leave out names, but in my agent days, so my wife is an artist. That's actually the whole reason why I'm involved with OAPN in the first place. But we did have a collaboration and a pretty big tour set up with an artist, and it wasn't it didn't feel very collaborative on the other side. And so there were two events where my Diana was the opener, and the artist showed up and decided that he wanted the later sound check and the early show, and didn't announce that anybody was touring with him. So he was the headliner of these shows and went on first, and we had some pretty awful experiences with said artist when Diana got on the stage and everybody started to leave because they were very confused. So that was one poor collaboration that we experienced with another artist, but our only one,
yeah.
I feel.
Hey, that's good. And unfortunately, a really amazing example. Thank you. Um, okay, flip side, has anyone had a collaboration that went super well? Either something you're working on right now or something you're proud of from 25 years ago. I don't care when it happened. But does anyone have an example of like an incredible collaboration? I see some people thinking about saying something. Yeah, was there?
Jared, I see your hand.
Go ahead.
Hey, hello everybody. I had an experience in Milwaukee where we partnered with the Business Improvement District to bring a large-scale temporary art installation on the grounds of the Performing Arts Center, and that was a tremendous catalyzing effect for a what hadn't started out to be a mini festival, but became one over time with this collaboration that we started with. It ultimately, I think that I would point out that we were very clear about financial expectations from the get-go, and we were also clear about both sides' budgets. And other than that, I think those were that was the thing that differentiated it from some of the less successful collaborations. But certainly this one was what made that event the most Instagrammable event of the summer, according to the news.
Amazing. Both of you just set me up perfectly for where I wanted to lead in. So thank you. I couldn't have mapped that out better if I asked. So what's important with a collaboration? It's not about being nice. Jared just said it, is that setting your expectations early. That's really, really important. With a collaboration, it's about being clear, strategic, and aligned early on. In our last session, someone had brought up, I think people have this spirit of they want to collaborate and they want to be partners, but sometimes those mean different things. And sometimes people are expecting, a financial partnership that was not outlined clearly from the beginning, or more of a say artistically, or whatever it might be. What's very, very important from the very beginning is that a collaboration isn't about being nice. It is about knowing what your boundaries are as an organization, as an artist, as an agent, knowing what you're capable of doing. Because obviously you want it to be successful. You don't want to spread yourself, your artist, and your staff too thin. But being clear and strategic and aligned from the very, very beginning, because if you're not, things can very, very quickly spin out of control, and that's not going to be successful for anybody. So I want to talk a little bit about some of these areas where collaboration breaks down and give some people a bit of a frame of reference here. So there's three very, very common friction points that we have when we're trying to collaborate in this performing arts realm. One of them is misaligned goals. I'll talk through all these a little bit more specifically, but misaligned goals, communication gaps, and a transactional mindset, right? So misaligned goals, this can come, especially when I'm looking at this from the lens of an artist, agent, and a presenter. So if we're booking a show, as an artist, obviously you have a creative vision. I know we have some artists on this call right now. That's why you're in this industry, I assume, is because you have a creative vision for what you want your show to be. As an agent, you want to get your artist booked, period. And then as a presenter, we want to sell tickets. Hopefully it goes beyond that. There's community impact and we have budget considerations, but ultimately those tend to be the three main goals when you're looking at agent, artist, presenter. So those seem like they can not go together, but how can we have some sort of shared vision when we're looking at something from the very, very beginning? So at the start of any project, you just need to start with truly having a conversation, which I know all of us, we're all very, very busy in the arts world. Audience members sometimes don't realize that it's not as simple as turning on the lights and having someone play guitar on stage. There's a lot that goes into the back end of planning it. But if we take more time in the conversations, in our advanced conversations, in our booking conversations, in our contracts, in our offers, then it can set us up for success later on. So looking at some sort of shared goal, have the conversation as an agent, have the conversation with the presenter of what does success look like for you? Because I know for us, overall, we would like to have ticket sales, but sometimes we're doing things that are just mission based. And so having that sort of understanding from the very beginning with an agent, because I might go and say, I only sold 200 tickets in this 1,500 seat house, but it's okay because XYZ happened. So just making sure that everybody knows up front what the goal is for this show, which comes from the artist as well. Because if an artist is just like, well, I'm here to give my show to a sold out house, that might not always be feasible for someone to do for them, for an agent or a presenter. So have those conversations from the very, very beginning and try to define one shared goal that seems silly, but one shared goal is attainable, right? So whether that's coming up with one sort of community outreach, whether that's we're in a 1,500 seat house, but really the goal is for us to get 500 people in the door. Or as an artist, if it's, I want to be, can we make sure that we're sharing my music with this sort of audience? Because it can start there too. If an artist knows that this is the type of audience that they can be marketed towards, tell the presenters that up front, because then we know immediately, okay, I will go to this community and help bring them in the door. Because it might not be a community that we're tapped into automatically. So now talking about communication gaps, this is huge. This is where it can come in, assumptions instead of clarity. If from the very, very beginning, an agent, artist, presenter, whoever it might be, just assumes, well, as the presenter, they're going to be responsible for this, or as an agent, they're going to be responsible for this. That's where things fall through the cracks. That's where a solid offer, a solid contract can come into play that can fully outline, hey, me as the agent, I'm going to do this for you. My artist, and it's becoming more and more popular. I'm seeing that in the marketing realm, artists are helping a lot, which I know is huge as a presenter. That makes you a lot more bookable, knowing that, hey, we can rely on you for some marketing support. But that's info can just get lost. If an artist assumes that their agent is communicating something with the presenter that they're not, or an agent assumes that the artist is going to communicate that, obviously things fall through the cracks. Communication is difficult. Written communication, I know can be best because then we all have something to go back and reference. A lot of people like phone calls. I know something that can be really effective if you're doing some sort of Teams call, Zoom call, get those AI notes going so that, someone doesn't have to take notes and it can be fully, yep, this is what was said in that meeting. Yeah, making sure that there is some sort of shared document, shared email thread. I know that sounds so basic, but that's what we're talking about here. These tactics are that basic. It's that simple to make sure we're all on the same page for a successful collaboration. So making sure that we have a point person for everything. Most artists and agents that I work with, I know are amazing at this. That in a contract, it lets you know exactly who is responsible for each thing. But if you are a newer artist, a newer agent, and you don't know what you should be doing in those contracts, please make sure that you're outlining this is what I will do for you. This is what we're expecting you to do. Because then we're both going to sign that piece of paper and say, yep, that's what we're doing. And I understand that. And it's set from the very, very beginning. Now this one is a little less completely practical and more mindset. But it's this transactional mindset that can be very, very problematic. We need to shift from this is a gig to this is a partnership. And that's building a great arts ecosystem. I think about it very specifically to my local arts ecosystem, but building a good regional arts ecosystem, which I know Jess is constantly doing with OAPN, but also on a national level. I'm constantly hearing Jess talk about her communicating with all of these other arts coalitions or consortiums, because that's what we need to be doing, is having these conversations so that our arts ecosystem on a national level is strong and collaborative. So thinking about this on a very, very basic level, a good question to ask either as the agent or the artist, maybe the agent asks the art or the artist asks the agent and then agent can bring it to a presenter. But what is one thing that we can build together just beyond the performance? And that can be, we talked a little bit about this in the last session, but people automatically think, well, educational workshops, which can be very, very beneficial. Not every artist works in that capacity. And if you are not strong at doing some sort of arts education, do not do it, because that will not set you up for success. It will not be good across the board, right? People won't get a great experience from it. But there are other opportunities. That's where you can talk to your presenter about, hey, what sort of things are in your community? But I know we're doing this collaboration this weekend with a production of Ragtime, that the arts presenters that are involved is our Performing Arts Center, myself at the Springfield Arts Council, as well as the Springfield Symphony. But then we're partnering with the Heritage Museum in town. We're partnering with the library. We're partnering with the Springfield Museum of Art. We're partnering with a local program. It's a visual arts program for at-risk youth. But we're partnering with all of these organizations to help with cross promotion and to help show that deeper dive into, Ragtime is the show that we're doing. So obviously there are so many natural fits to a library. They're pulling together a reading list to be advertising, hey, one, come to the library, but two, did you know that there's education beyond just going and seeing the show? And the same with our Heritage Center. Our Heritage Center put together these displays to have in the lobby about, these are the specific human beings that are in Ragtime and what they were doing at turn of the century where the show takes place. But then here's what was happening in Springfield at that time. And so you can sort of compare how our local community compared to what was happening in this production. So there's other fits, there's a YMCA. If you're doing, I know if anyone's seen Mutts Gone Nuts that Sean Casey has, you could partner with your local ASPCA. There's so many organizations just beyond the arts organizations that will help expand this into being more of a community collaboration rather than it just being a gig. Make a deeper impact. And part of that is being aware as an artist of, okay, so what am I doing that fits beyond whatever my show might be? And like I said, it doesn't have to be specific to education. Sometimes it's going into a school and doing an artist residency, which is incredible. We do those all the time. I know there's a lot of popularity surrounding doing a similar concept, but at senior centers, which I've seen be incredibly successful, as well as the local YMCA, the local libraries. Sometimes there are not just senior centers, but like a Masonic home or other senior living facilities that are interested in having artists come in. But it's thinking about working with everyone in the community, regardless of age. And that might depending on whatever your show is, that would change. Not every single person is going to fit into performing at a preschool. Not every single performer can go into a local casino. I don't know. I'm thinking about random things, but the arts connect to everything, right? So it's figuring out where that hook is for you as an artist, and agents. It's that extra step for you to think about, okay, when we're booking, it's not just a gig, it's about a partnership. So what can we do to be able to kind of strengthen that partnership? And I started kind of teasing this out a little bit, but these are some specific tactics for an artist, for an agent, for a presenter to really strengthen this a little bit. So as an artist, think about this, shift from the mindset of I'm showing up to perform to I'm co-creating impact. Because we all know, all of us in this room know that the arts are so much more than just showing up and performing. It is about making somebody feel something. So how can you do that beyond what you're doing on the stage? And maybe it's a talk back. I mean, I just saw a one-man production of it was 90 minutes about a local tie to a Jewish man from who had been in concentration camps and his whole journey. And immediately after the 90-minute show, the actor and then the writer sat down and just had a 15-minute talk back. And it was super impactful. Anyone could ask questions. It was at a local college, so it got very educational. But sometimes a talk back is what people are looking for. Sometimes it's an opportunity for having people from the community come on stage. What is it that your show can do that can really create some impact as opposed to just performing? Which I think this can help in the beginning artists if you're advancing with intention. Think about, I was thinking about this sort of concept of like an artist collaboration note when you're looking at sort of what your package is and your information that you're sending, that agents are sending out to presenters. It's not always, people automatically think of educational outreach, but it's more than that. It's an artist collaboration note. So think about flexible programming ideas, audiences that you're excited to reach. So yeah, think about those concepts and being adaptable. Think about you as an artist and what does your audience respond to the most? Because even if you're just letting me know that as a presenter up front, I might be able to say, oh, that means that I can tap into this community about that. So for agents, it's the concept of shifting from being a deal maker to more of a relationship curator or architect. You're kind of the in-between, hopefully, saying, this is what my artist is saying audiences are responding to. How does that translate to your community? So you're really the go-between there, hopefully, to help mold that relationship and mold that impact. And it should translate to both directions, helping the artists understand that presenters do have constraints. We're not always just saying no because we want to. Sometimes it's just not possible for us. But then help presenters see the artistic value in what an artist is trying to present to you. Because sometimes it is just dollars and cents to us. And if you bring it to us more in an artistic value mindset, we might be able to focus more to mission-based for us instead of dollars and cents. So think about how to bundle those opportunities, whether that's a routed tour, if you're doing, maybe it's you're doing a live performance for me here in Springfield, but then your artist residency component is in Dayton. It's nearby, it's close enough that you can stay in one hotel and drive between the two of us. But that is sharing cost between two different presenters and making an even wider reach within the region. And being a little bit proactive about that. I mean, I've said this in a few different ways, but as an agent coming to us and saying, hey, this artist pairs very well with this organization that's in your community. And then for presenters, we really need to be shifting from being a buyer to being a community connector. I know this is something frequently on my mind because I live in a pretty small community, and we have a pretty robust arts ecosystem. So it's constantly thinking about how we can be tying in other local organizations, what themes exist within a performance that then makes it so we can connect it across our community or connect it to things that are currently relevant within our community. And if we're sharing audience insight early, to agents and to artists so that people are automatically understanding, hey, people are excited about this part of your show. Or even if the earliest you can share it is immediately after the show, giving that feedback to agents and artists as quickly as possible is helpful for them to know what's working for them, and how they can market themselves in other capacities. And I think we need to all, as presenters, we need to be thinking about being artist forward. And it's not about me saying like, Nikki D is the best artist I ever had, so I'm not telling anyone about her. It's saying, hey, Nikki D was amazing. You need to book her, and getting her in front of as many presenters in our region as possible. So making sure that it's all, we talked a lot about this in the last one, but this is a relationship, right? The arts are relational. They can't be transactional. If they're transactional, we're going to lose the integrity of the arts. And we're just becoming corporate business. And that's not what we are here in the arts. So I talk a lot, but so thinking about this in more of a 4-step collaboration loop here. So start with aligning, move into designing, 3 is executing, and 4 is reflecting, right? So start with aligning our goals. Start with that one concept of what is our shared success, and clarify roles right up front. That's step number 1. You cannot move on to design until you have completely aligned everything that's going on with your collaboration here. So then we move into design. And that's where we can co-create an audience experience. That's where Nikki can tell me, hey, I reach these audiences well. Do you have that audience in your community? Or what do you have that's similar, so we can work together to create the best impact? And hopefully being able to add one extra layer. Hopefully it's not just coming in to do a performance. Hopefully there is a talkback element, or hopefully you can get your local library to cross promote with you. Maybe it is going to the library beforehand to do, a mini teaser performance before your full show. Whatever that might be, hopefully one extra layer can be added to these performances. Then it's executing, communicate consistently, and stay flexible. We all know in live performance, something will go wrong, period. I tell my staff that constantly. Don't stress about if something went wrong. That's our whole job, is to plan as much as humanly possible so that when we get to the event and something goes wrong, we don't panic. We can immediately pivot. And then just reflect what worked and what didn't, because, we got to talk about some failed collaborations here at the beginning. Something will probably go wrong. In a dream world, then it doesn't, and everything's perfect, and you can just, reuse that collaboration. But hopefully once these sorts of packages, these collaboration packages start to work better, it's just easier every single time. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. It's going and saying, hey, talk to Krissy in Springfield. We did this in her community. And, it's also being presenters, agents, artists that are willing to have relationships with other people to share, like, hey, yes, I worked with Nikki on that. It worked really well in this part of my community, and the feedback here was great. So it's a lot, making sure that in a debrief, we're figuring out what part of this collaboration exceeded our expectations, because hopefully something did. What was challenging, because something will be. And what should we do again? Whether that's with that specific agent, that specific artist, whoever it might be, or maybe it's, nothing about that collaboration worked. We found that our community doesn't have a tie-in to mimes who juggle, and I don't know. I was trying to think of something insane. But sometimes there's just not a natural fit into your community, and that's okay. That's where the honesty and clarity comes up front. I want to be really nice. I have met so many artists that are incredible that I'm like, oh, I want you in my space. I really, really do. But sometimes it just doesn't work for what the makeup of my community is. So how can we as presenters then just be honest? Don't try to string an agent along. Don't try to let them know like, hey, maybe one day this can work. Maybe something like this can happen. if it's not possible, tell them up front, but let them know, hey, it's not going to work because of this. And here's my recommendation. Maybe try this community, maybe try this presenter. It's all about effective communication and relationships. So in this moment, I want to like open the floor if anyone has questions, comments, anything to add to this sort of collaborative. I want to make this a little bit more collaborative and not me just talking at you. And feel free to just like unmute and chat. I'm going to try to look, and Jess, if you can help me. But yeah, I'm going to try to look and see if anyone has something.
Hi, Krissy.
Hi.
I have a question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for all this. This is great, and this is something that we try to do as artists, but we're also represented artists. So one thing that I find is kind of wearing two hats, where the artist side of me will like if we're asked to do any kind of extra thing, collaboration, a little extra promotion or whatever, I'm always like, yes, yes, always saying yes, right? The
Yeah.
the agent side of me is always like, all right, how do I is this something that we should be as part of the package that we're doing? Is this like some this is I'm thinking more either sometimes as you're negotiating things, and sometimes these things come up after the contract has been
Uh-huh.
negotiated and we're already there, we're on premises, and we might be asked to do different things. And so my agent side is sort of at a constant struggle of making sure that that my artist, me, and the other people that I
Yeah.
work with are taken care of, because I know that every little thing we do makes that event, that collaboration better. Is that more a question of making sure that all that stuff is set before it happens? And as on the presenter side, are those things expected to be compensated? The artists, the presenters usually expect to compensate the artists for, little things that happen. And that third side, what happens when we're there and something comes up that hasn't been d discussed before?
Yeah, I think that it's so in this model that I just kind of talked through, um set that all up at the very, very beginning. It's like I said in my first, this is probably the hardest thing for me as a human being, but remembering that collaboration isn't about being nice. It's about being clear, strategic, and aligned early. So make sure it's all up there in your original, in your package when you're telling people, like, hey, here's what I offer. Let them know that you are open to collaboration, you are open to outreach, but that needs to be set before contract is signed. After the contract is signed, a presenter should not be adding anything on top of it for you. That contract was signed, and presenters in general, we need to be better about not doing that to our artists and our agents, because that should be clearly defining, this is exactly what we are expecting from you, and this is what you can give us. And I know that some people work that into whatever their original price is. Sometimes it's, for a show, it's this much money. If you want us to do educational outreach, here are the opportunities, it's this much more. And all of those models work, I think. But it's just about making sure that that is aligned from the very, very beginning, be clear, and have those boundaries. Recognize that you are not, it does not make you difficult to work with by saying, like, hey, I'm sorry. We didn't establish that in the original contract, so I can't do, we just aren't capable of doing that, because you have to be mindful of yourselves as artists and as an agent. Yeah, of course. So it doesn't even have to be a question. It doesn't even have like a comment about, it can be positive or negative. I prefer positive, but oh yeah, Haley, go ahead.
Oh, hey, I'm literally just enjoying listening. I don't have loads to say. I'm new to this whole world, obviously being from the UK, and really mostly being in ships before this. The whole land, performing arts world is new as an artist and an agent. So I'm just really enjoying taking everything in that you're saying. Like, it's great.
Good.
That's really all I have to
Good.
say. Just a comment.
Well, thank you. Nikki, I saw you unmuted. Yeah, go ahead, girl.
All right. Hello. Did you say me?
Yes.
Krissy, this is so good. This is so good. I have more clarity on some things because we're new to having an agent. So with the agency, and so trying to be clear with communicating and not having a lot of people. Like you said, I wrote in my notes the point, the person that's always the point of person. Is that what you said? Person, the main person you come to, that's like would be the liaisons person. And so
Mhm.
my hands have always been in everything, and so it's been different not having my hands in everything with the agent. And she's been amazing. She's been so informative and making sure things are communicated. What's been happening with me, I haven't communicated well with her of what we bring as far as equipment and instruments, and what we willing to do, what that kind of thing. So it's like I don't want to be like you said, I don't want to be the bad guy. Like, okay, no, we can't bring that, we can't do that. So then we kind of scuffle around trying to make that happen because I didn't say that that would be more difficult, especially traveling kind of beyond 2 hours to bring drums, bring equipment. And so communicating that to my agent to make sure communicate that to the presenter before even anything is signed, because some of the things have been signed, and then now we got to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, because that can be um a last minute scramble is not good for anybody, right?
Mm. Right.
That's I see on here my technical director Josh is on here, and I know he's had those moments where, a presenter might come in and, oh, we want to add this, and he wants to say yes and he wants to do it, but then, you don't have the right equipment, you don't have the right turnover time, you don't have everything to make it as successful as humanly possible. And as an artist, you don't want to present yourself that way, right? You don't want to
Right.
scramble and, do things only half as well as you typically can. And as a presenter, I don't want to present someone who's only performing at half their best because they weren't prepared. And obviously as an agent, same thing.
Right.
So it just doesn't, it's hard to be the person who has to say, no, we can't do that. But
Hmm.
that's where those contracts and those offer letters come into play from the very very beginning, is to say like, no, 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 that's what we agreed to, that's what I know I can successfully do for you today. So advocate for yourself as an artist, and with your agent, like, that is nope, the reason why those contracts exist is so that our audience can have the best show humanly possible, and everyone can have a great experience, and there can be strong impact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Jared, go ahead.
I want to underscore or underline something that you said, Krissy, to John, that I think sort of encapsulates a lot of what this part of the conversation is to me, and that is knowing what your expectations are at the outset. Because I think so. I've been on both sides of the negotiation. I've been a presenter and an agent, and I think that the best thing for me is knowing what the expectations of the artist are. So if they have an expectation that they're going to get paid for more than two actions in a day, or however they describe it, knowing that ahead of time helps me plan, it helps me budget, it helps me start to manage my own expectations about what I'm going to get out of the relationship. Conversely, as an agent representing artists, I love it when the buildings or the presenters have a good idea of what they're looking for, or even they don't have any idea what they're looking for, but we have like placeholders in either the contract or the deal memo that says, some sort of engagement activity TBD, to be decided, and closer to the advance time or something like that. And we know that that's folded into the price that we've already agreed on. We know that, or we call out, if we decide to add something else that we probably will, that is desired, that looks like maybe it's going to be involving students. I mean, it's all very conceptual right now. We'll pay some more money, 500, like maybe we'll call it out. Maybe we'll say we'll determine that later. But just having that discussion and managing those upfront, I think is critical. And that's being clear, strategic, and aligned early, as you suggested. All of that being said, I also think that is in tension with flexibility, which is how relationships are developed. And so I think it's important in my mind to uh, have your sort of hard lines as on either side, being as a presenter or as an artist or as a representative of an artist, to know what you're really capable of and to know how you can push yourself or your teams or whatever to get the thing done. I think that where that breaks down is in many of, and I'll speak only for myself, but where that has broken down for me is when I get either attached personally to something happening, or I get, attached on behalf of whatever it is the project is or my community in some way, such that I can't, let this thing go. And then I think a lot of times the burnout that we all have experienced from time to time or all the time, some of that is very self-induced. And I think that part of it is starting to verbalize and negotiate our own expectations and limitations better with each other without with the understanding that it shouldn't ruin the relationship immediately to verbalize them.
Yeah, relationships, I mean, I touched base on a little bit. You dug deeper. The relationships are so important for so many reasons, right? Because things change, things happen. Flexibility is important. It's so much easier to be able to be flexible with a human that you have a relationship rather than like I emailed this person a contract and they said yes, and now they're telling me that things need to change. Well, I don't know you. I don't know if this is, you don't know. There are so many things. You don't want to assume anything nefarious, but hopefully you have a relationship with that person so you know if something needs to change. But a relationship also helps build, there are agents that will call me and say, like, hey, this act just worked here and it made me think of you because I know that you did this project and it went well. And sometimes it's something that I booked specifically with them so they know. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something I booked through another agent that they just know about because we have a good relationship and I let them know, hey, this was successful for me. So it's building those, artists making sure you have strong relationships with your agents and agents making sure you have strong relationships with presenters. And if you double as both, um, just making sure that transparency is important. It is just, being fully honest about what you can do, what you'd like to do. And then if something goes wrong, being able to communicate that with people, and not, try to pretend like something didn't go wrong. Because you want to make sure that you are presenting yourself as best as humanly possible, at all times. Unfortunately, one bad arts experience can really shatter somebody. So yeah, making sure that you keep those relationships strong, is one of the most important things here because we all have good intentions behind what we want to do. So yeah, just making sure you keep that strong. Yeah, thank you, Jared. Does anyone else have anything specific? Questions, comments?
Uh, I'll add, we just went through an interesting tour, and we had a couple of things happen that I think was that like ties to what you're speaking about. So these are more comments, but one is that on the maybe slightly negative side, we had a couple instances where uh, after the show was contracted, there were some TBDs in the contract, and the executive director or the person that we contracted with had moved on, and so we started working with somebody else. Uh, in both circumstances, that was not communicated to us until multiple communications, weren't being answered, and we had to kind of look up and say, "What's going on at this place?" It all worked out, but it did end up kind of almost like renegotiating a contract that was already done because
Yeah.
of this person inherited this show that somebody else had booked, this outreach and these other programs that people had booked, and we had to work with them to kind of figure that out. But as far as relationships, we had one show where we were going to be in one venue for 6 days doing a bunch of multiple things uh, in Alaska. And it was someone who we had worked before. We encountered a storm, flights were delayed for 2 days. So by the time we got there, we only had 4 days. And when I called this person and said, hey, like, this is what's going on. We've tried everything. There's no way we can get there. Her response was just like, okay, fine. And like, I think she trusted us because we had worked before and we had talked about what we're going to do. And that had been a whole collaboration about how that week was going to go. All the shows were at the big stuff was at the end of the week. And what we were missing was some workshops and promotion, and everything was able to be scheduled. But it was, I felt like if we had not worked together before and we didn't have a relationship from conferences and things like that, it might have been a different story because she might not have known what she could do with us, or or even questioning, well, is that really a storm, or like, you know
Right.
and it ended up working out great. But I do feel like it was, we trusted her to take care of us, and she trusted us to do whatever we could, to make it happen. And so that was, I think, a good circumstance of where things could have been really bad, and having just a little bit of relationship of knowing that person made the whole thing so much better.
Yeah, communication is everything. Yeah, making sure, I mean, that's one of the biggest, like I talked about in the beginning, that's one of the biggest places where a collaboration can fall apart is if communication isn't clear and it's not consistent. So just making sure, especially when, because there is turnover, right? New executive directors exists, or I've worked with an artist that was with one agency when I booked them, and then they transferred agencies before I actually had them in my venue. And so what does that look like? It's all about just communicating it through the entire process, because things change and we know that, and things happen. But if we're not communicating, then things are rough. Jared, go ahead.
I wanted to ask if you have like notes on this. You said something earlier about um, um, comparing artistic integrity with the financial elements, and I wondered if you would say that again, and if it may not be an appropriate tangent for this discussion today, but I would offer it up as potentially a different Tuesday talk topic, perhaps.
Yes. Oh gosh, I ramble sometimes. But I know it was about um with your artists, and I'm trying to see where I had that in my notes.
It- yeah, and you
Yeah,
may
because I
have
have a
said,
tendency, I give myself bullet points, and then I talk. But no, it's the concept of making sure that as a presenter, we are trusting like in making sure that presenters, as an agent, making sure that you are helping presenters understand the artistic value and artistic integrity of what an artist is bringing to you, and not just look at the dollars and cents behind it, and recognize that sometimes a performance can be more mission based as opposed to just about making money.
yeah, I think the one that I wanted to asterisk what, because it was right after you said that, you said something to the effect of, and maybe it was it may not have been the way that you intended either, but it was something about, we know that as we focus more on the money, the artistic integrity declines,
Yeah,
or something akin to that. And I don't want to
yeah,
mischaracterize what you've said, but I definitely would challenge that, and I would love to pick that statement apart too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That would be a fun
yeah.
topic.
Yeah, because I think um it's, I mean, it's that this can be a long tangent, but it is that concept of, when you get to a point of, I have $10,000 I can give you. It's like, yeah, but the value of what my art is, it's $15,000. Like, well, but I have 10, so it's when you get there, and it's apples and oranges, but both are important. The artistic integrity and the artistic value behind what an artist is bringing, it does have a number, it does have a value, and that is so true. But money is a real tangible thing. So yeah, that can be challenging. Absolutely.
I just
Um,
want to hop in really quick and thank you, Krissy. I love when our conversations, I love when the folks on the call participate. And so thank you everybody for speaking up, talking about your own stories, and engaging with our conversations. I think, Krissy, you have such a great way of relaying information, and you've got you just have a great system and numbering things and grouping things together. This has just been a wonderful conversation, and I feel bad ending it, but we do have a hard end today, unfortunately. But so this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel within a couple days. Krissy, do you have any last few things that you want to toss out there in our last few minutes?
Yeah, I just want to wrap up to think about this, like a couple of key takeaways here. Collaboration requires clarity, not just goodwill. We all have good intentions, but we all need to be clear and realistic about what we can bring to a collaboration. Every role has agency to this process. So don't think that just that agent, just the artist, just the presenter is responsible for making these collaborations happen. We all have very specific things we can do to make it happen. And there are very small changes that can make a big impact. Just because you can't do a full week artist residency does not mean that whatever you're able to bring to the table does not have value and does not have impact. Sometimes even just being able to share a video on your social media, it can make a strong impact. So just think about the best collaborations don't just fill a date, they build momentum and help build a stronger arts ecosystem. And I know Jess put it in the chat over there. But for those of you that are close enough, or even if you're not close enough and you want to travel, come hang out with us in Springfield on June 19th. You can see a little bit about what I'm talking about with our unique arts ecosystem. We're going to take a tour of the Performing Arts Center here in town, which includes the 1,500 seat Performing Arts Center, as well as a black box theater. We're going to head to the State Theater in town, which is a 300 seat house, and go to our Summer Arts Festival to see a performance of CeCe Tennille's Divas of Soul. So come join us. It'll be a very, very fun night. The performance is outdoors, so dress for the weather because we go rain or shine.
Wonderful. Oh, well, I can't wait. Thank you. You gave the shout out to the event, so I no longer have to. Of course,
Hey,
that's
go
free
ahead.
for all of our members. So please, that link is in there. Please register, and then you get to meet Krissy in person and talk with her. You're filled with knowledge, and we're so happy to have you on the board and part of these discussions. So grateful for you, and for all of you guys on the call today or watching. Please join us for our next Tuesday Talks on May 26th. We are actually bringing in JD Decker from APAP, and he's going to discuss the Start Local, Scale Smart, preparing for the next stage. We're really going to discuss why it's so important to start with your local state consortias like OAPN, PA Presenters, Michigan, and then moving up to the APAPs, to the North Carolinas, to the WAS, and the things that you need to do as artists to prepare yourself to be ready for that, whether that's having solid tech sheets, understanding a good rider, understanding contracts, and all those fun things. So JG will walk us through all of that, and we're excited to have that conversation. If anybody doesn't have anything else, we're going to end this, but I want to first give Krissy a huge round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for chatting with me. It's nice when I'm not just talking to a screen.
I hope you have a great week. It's only Tuesday, so do all the great things, and we will see you soon. Of course, if you ever need to reach out to me, I'm always available if you ever need to chat.
Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.